Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Poetry. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Adlestrop by Edward Thomas. I'm going to take you through the content of the poem, key contextual points, and some notes on form, so get those flashcards ready. Another video is coming your way with 5 key quotes analysed, so keep a lookout for that as well. Let's get started. So what is this poem all about? This poem is about a moment in time where Edward Thomas, the writer and the narrator of the poem, stops outside a train station in a place called Adlestrop, out of the blue, unexpectedly. The train wasn't meant to stop there. And just for 1 minute in time, he looks out of the window and sort of remarks on what he sees. There's this wonderful shift from the kind of world of industry to the world of nature, and he just has this sort of glorious moment of peace as he looks out across the land and observes what he sees and what he can hear the birds singing. So context is important here. So Edward Thomas was born in 1878 and he died in 1917. So you can see how young he was. This is, like I said, an autobiographical poem. So this is actually describing a moment where Edward Thomas did indeed stop. It was on the 24th of June 1914 and he was on a journey. He was on a train that was going from Oxford to Gloucestershire, which is where they stopped, when they stopped. In this little place called Adlestrop. Now, you might be looking at that date and having a few little moments, and you'd be right to, because actually 24th of June 1914 were about 6 weeks before the outbreak of war, of obviously World War One. Edward Thomas has actually been referred to as a war poet. This poem isn't about war. However, what's important is that Thomas didn't want to join. He didn't want to enlist. He was actually feeling incredibly anxious about the concept. And obviously at the time he's writing this poem, even though war hasn't broken out, everyone is sort of mentally preparing it. And he actually used some of his poetry as a way of helping him deal with his anxiety about the state of the world and about war, as encouraged by his friend and also very famous poet called Robert Frost. But you can see from the dates how dreadfully sad and poignant this is, because he dies in battle. He dies in 1917. He dies before this poem is even published. He only wrote poetry for 3 years of his life. He did other writing, one novel, biographies, lots of kind of critical work, essays and such. But the poetry was only just for this 3-year period. So he is often considered a war poet. He was influenced by the great Romantic poets, and so you can see quite a lot of that in his work, this one in particular. Form is quite interesting in this poem. What we have is we've got 4 quatrains. So quatrains are 4-line stanzas or verses, whichever you prefer. There is a rhyme scheme. It's an ABCB rhyme scheme, and the poem is largely written in iambic tetrameter. I say largely because he doesn't stick to it perfectly. We've got a few extra syllables here and there, a few little moments where the stresses are broken. And what you'll actually notice about the iambic tetrameter and the ABCB rhyme scheme is that you don't necessarily read to it. One of the reasons for that is the use of enjambment and caesura. And what you're going to notice in this poem is where you've got these moments of enjambment, like even here, like look at this, between 2 stanzas, it actually creates a much more sort of conversational tone. It sounds much more like Edward Thomas is sort of talking to us directly, but it's also quite mimetic of aspects of the poem, like for example the sudden stop of the train. That's very much mimicked in the structure and the form of the poem. So yeah, some nice little talking points there around form and structure. That's it from me on context and form. There's another video coming your way that will be analysing 5 key quotes, so do keep a look out for that and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. Happy revising.